The podcast you're about to hear involves true stories, which may contain graphic content that is not suitable for children. Listener's discretion is advised. This is Esoteric Oddities.
Coming at you live on this
Jesus
Saturday
Christ.
morning.
It's a Monday
here
when they get this.
in my apartment with Jonathan.
Hey guys, you better put that on silent in the studio. All phones on silent.
Okay, first of all, shut up. Second of all, I love you.
I love you too.
You know, you gotta give like negative feedback
yeah.
and some positive feedback.
I love that. It's like a tumultuous relationship, very healthy. I love that for us. You guys are listening to Power 95.5.
Yeah,
I'm your host.
what?
I'm just kidding.
Guys, it's a Saturday morning and we actually got sleep, so I feel like we're gonna be weirder than weird.
Oh, can you believe that? This is Esoteric Oddities. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Sarah. Oh, you literally threw me off. I was ready to
What?
say that I'm Jonathan.
Oh, identity crisis.
Okay.
You guys, we are on episode 76.
We're almost at 100. Just wait till 100. We're going to do something be special.
We haven't planned it yet, and we're really setting the bar high, so I'm going to need you to bring that down a couple
I'm
notches.
so sorry. I was thinking like a party.
Oh, we could do that. Yeah. Maybe everyone could come.
Yeah, all of our 3 friends.
Yeah, perfect. Oh, I love that. That'd be rocking. That'd be rocking.
Speaking of friends, on Friday was the 20th anniversary of Cruel Intentions. So me, Jonathan, Kiko, and our friend Trish went to see it in theater, and we were the only ones there.
Okay, so here's what happened. 20th anniversary, right? It's going to be a big deal. Cruel Intentions, great movie, big deal. They have a musical, Sarah Michelle Gellar, Ryan Phillippe, the whole gang. Reese without her spoon.
I can't.
Everyone's here. So I go online on Monday because I was like, y'all, we need
He
to
was
order tickets
wrecked.
now. So I go online, I order the tickets, I pick the seats. I pick the best seats in the house. And we get there and we're the only people in the theater.
And mind you, we're acting a fucking fool.
Dropping nerds. Oh, hold on. So we get there, right? And we had a whole box of wine that we put into a bag, like a backpack.
Oh my God, it's so scary.
And props to Trish for thinking to put a scarf on top. Because I was like, no, we'll be fine. She puts a scarf on top. We get in and the bag gets searched. Mind you guys, we took the box of wine out of the box.
Mind
so it's like
you,
a bag of
Kiko
wine.
is literally like, oh my God, we're caught. We're caught. Oh my God. I was
She's literally
Kiko,
like-
just handcuff me. I was like, we are fine.
We're fine, play cool, act cool. So the guy looks in the bag. He grabs it from the bottom.
Starts
He
slapping the bag.
He feels that there's clearly at least 3.5 liters of liquid in this bag. And he just looks at us and he goes, enjoy your movie. And you know what? We fucking did.
We did. I was also so fucking fried. So, fried is a Philly term. It means really high. I
thought you were going to say you were tired from work.
No, I was so fried that I kept forgetting that we were seeing a movie that we already saw.
I love how you had to explain what fried meant.
Well, most people were like, fried. What the fuck?
I mean, they could put the one and one together. Please stop playing with your boobies.
Okay.
This isn't an X-rated show. And then last weekend, we had a little photo shoot that... Oh, okay. First off, let me just apologize if the last episode seemed a little rushed.
Oh my God, we were rushed.
I'm very sorry. I was also on coffee.
Oh.
Lots of coffee.
Yeah.
And so I was a little all over the place.
Yeah, I'm starting to realize, like, doing this podcast, I feel like I don't articulate. Like, I was at work yesterday, and this man couldn't understand what I was saying, and instead of, like, writing it down, I just screamed really loud at him.
Oh, like an infant.
He kept asking what the password was, and I was like, meetings, and he would be like,
You just told all of our listeners what the password is.
that's fine.
Is that a capital M?
It's public. And y'all don't know where I work. Anyway, and I was like, he was just looking at me so blank, and I was like, it's meetings! Thinking like I'm the problem.
You are.
I know, but I'm saying like I thought he just couldn't understand me.
Oh, Jesus. It's a learning curve. But anyway, last Friday, after the podcast, we had a little photo shoot. So when we recorded last, okay? We had a little photo shoot. There were boobs. There were butts.
Funny story. So our friend Dre rolls up. She has no idea this photo shoot's going on. So this photo shoot was called Warm Bodies. It was created by my friend Kiko. Well, our friend Kiko. It's just about your winter body and loving it with what it is instead of being like, oh my God, like I don't have my summer body.
Right.
It's just like basically like loving your body where it is and what stage it's at and all of the struggles that come with that. So we were all in lingerie, ass out, titties out, you know.
Oh my God, sir. The studio cat is always fucking a mess.
Like somersaults on that table. So our friend Trey rolls up and she's like, what are you doing? And I'm like,
okay, wait. Not only that, but also you become very desensitized to the fact that these women are walking around in literally like no clothes because I forgot. And you went to answer the door. And I was like, maybe like someone else should answer the door because I didn't know Dre was coming. Well, I knew Dre was coming, but I didn't know she was at the door. I was like, you don't know who that is. We're just going to fling the door up and hello.
Oh, no. Kiko said it was Dre.
Oh.
And I had my little roby robe on.
Because, you always open doors, don't know who it is, and invite them in. This one time, the pizza man came and Sarah invited him in my house and was like, how do you know Jonathan? He literally was delivering pizza.
But I'm the same person that a man popped like up in our window and I screamed and slammed the window down.
Yeah, so as long as you don't go to the window and you just move a couple inches to the left and do the door.
Dude, I do not like
when
people look at me through windows. I'm scarred from Michael Myers. I'm telling you. Anyways.
I don't think anybody likes that. Who the fuck is like, oh, I like when people look at me through windows.
I don't think people like really like see it as like such a thing. But like for me, I'm like, ah.
It is scary shit, but also I feel like my neighbors have seen me do quite a number of things through my windows.
I know my neighbors have.
No,
I didn't have like a blind forever.
Oh, that's true. Should we get into this episode?
Yeah. So long story short.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Dre opens the door and she's like, "What are all y'all doing?" And I'm like, it's a photo shoot. She was like, "I had no idea this was going on." So like that was the story. Thanks everyone for coming. Bye.
Did you laugh out loud?
I hate you.
All right, so I think you went first last time, but you're gonna go first again this time.
All right, okay. This is a long one, guys.
We love a long one.
At the bottom of a freshly dug grave lie a man in his late 40s with blood running from a gunshot wound to his temple. More blood trailed from his nose. The man was Ramon Sosa. He was in nothing but his underwear and his arms pulled beneath his back, bound behind him.
Off to a start?
Yeah. Detectives from Montgomery County office already knew his identity, Ramon Sosa, one of the best-known boxing trainers in Southeast Texas. A former professional fighter, he taught pros and people that were in the Olympics in hopes to spare a fast-paced Puerto Rican way. So this man was Puerto Rican. He wanted to bring his style to Southeast Texas.
Right.
So he did that. Dozens of kids from gangs and troubled backgrounds funneled through his nonprofit Young Prospects boxing program.
Oh no, is that foreshadowing? Okay.
He also owned a successful gym less than 2 miles from this very exact spot where he was found, surrounded by heavy forest on all sides and well hidden from the bedroom community known as the Woodlands. So the Woodlands is not a great part.
Gotcha.
The detectives knew, too, that Sosa's gym brought in about $200,000 a month, allowing the trainer and his wife to buy fancy new houses, cars, and motorcycles, designer shoes, and watches. Gangs of money. That's what might have been behind this grim scene.
Oh, no. So he had money.
He had money, honey. All right, so I'm going to jump in to the story. So this is a decade earlier.
Okay.
Again, don't know the dates.
That's so fine.
So in another part of Houston, a young man known as Mundo, this is another guy.
Okay.
But he ties into the story. Walked out of jail.
I would hope so, that you weren't just talking about a random dude.
He'd just been acquitted after spending 14 months inside a violent felony charge. Mundo joined his local gang when he was 12 and was shot 6 times in 3 different incidents before he went to jail.
Oh my
When he
God.
got out, his future wife gave him an ultimatum. Pick her or pick the violent neighborhood where he grew up. He chose her and moved to the other side of town.
That's
He was
good.
right. He's just trying to clean it up.
Mm-hmm.
He was looking around the area for gyms and stumbled upon a little place where one of the trainers, Ramon Sosa, always seemed to be surrounded by young fighters. His technique was different. Puerto Rican boxing, Mundo says. He looked like a professional boxer, and I was like, I want that.
I bet. I don't think I'd be a very good boxer.
So Ramon Sosa was from Puerto Rico. He moved to Houston when he was young. He had returned to the island when he became a professional boxer at 17, but he grew disillusioned with the business. He said that people are trying to make money off you in so many different ways, and he was nothing but a piece of meat. That's what Ramon was quoted saying in the past.
Yeah, okay, well, that's how it is everywhere.
Right, okay? Literally everywhere. How do you get out of that? Own your own fucking business, be your own fucking boss. And that's that on that.
There you go. We haven't had a minute on that. It's that on that. Did I have a stroke? What's that quote? Oh, follow your dreams or you'll be working for someone who did.
Right?
And that's that. On that.
For realsies. So Sosa returned to Houston and discovered that his real calling wasn't in the center of the ring, but it was in the corner. He began training pros from the Houston area, traveling flights in Las Vegas and New Jersey. He visited the Playboy Mansion and posed for photos next to Hugh Hefner and Mike Tyson. But he soared on the pro scene again and turned to young amateurs. So he always trained young fighters.
And then he became a big enough deal that he was in Playboy.
Yeah, but then he continued to train
Okay.
young fighters. He had been a trainer for 20-some years when Mundo appeared in the Little Gym in 2005. He was different, a source recalls. He didn't want to fight. He wanted to learn how to box. This is what the source is saying about Mundo.
Okay. Understood.
I have a lot,
Yeah, just clarifying. I like it.
The relationship, Mundo says, was the first time any male figure took interest in his life. Mundo is quoted saying, he set the ground rules. He took it upon himself to check up on me. He didn't have to do that. It meant a lot. Sosa was quoted earlier by saying he told me what had happened to him, the problems that he had with the law, and then he was a gang member. So they had a relationship because Sosa was also like that in the past.
Okay, right. So I see a little bit of me in you.
Yes, exactly.
But not in like a creepy, rapey way.
No.
I didn't mean it like that.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So Monday. Mundo walked away from the gang and into Sosa's corner. Sosa, in turn, would later launch a nonprofit as a way to reach other kids like Mundo, who remembers thinking that he and Ramon could save literally every person that's in a gang. Because, children that are in a setting like that, they're violent. So, if you take it out in a way that's, constructed for them, it kind of changed.
It's also kind of like they don't know anything else.
Exactly.
Or that there is a different outlet to do so.
Right. And Ramon gave
that outlet, right?
Because it was a nonprofit, so they didn't have to pay to be there, things like that.
Right. Love that tax deductible.
Right. And so that went on for the next 2 years until a night in 2007 when a woman stepped on Ramon Sosa's toe.
Uh-oh.
Her name was Maria de Lourdes Durendes, but everyone called her Lulu. She was long, lean, with dark hair, and she had hips for miles.
Oh, my.
So Ramon had worn a Versace sweater and one of his most expensive watches to get inside a trendy Latin club in the Woodlands.
Okay.
He bought a beer and planned to just watch Lulu dance, but when she walked past him, she stepped on his toe with what he swears were 6-inch heels.
I thought that was metaphorical.
Oh,
metaphorical.
No.
Oh, right.
Oh,
well,
no.
really,
She
actually
had
stepped
those
on.
heels.
Okay.
After Lulu apologizing, Ramon asked her to dance. It was the start of a whirlwind relationship.
Oh, she's like, oops, did I maybe I should go to the club and start stomping on people's toes and be like, oops, I'm sorry. People be like, who the fuck is that toe cruncher over there?
Ramon's friends were quoted saying that Lulu captivated him.
Or did she decapitate him?
Right. There was rumors that she would give him massages, manicures, pedicures. If he had a drink, she wouldn't let him finish it before he had another one. He would be halfway done with his drink and she would bring him another one. Yeah. Shit like that.
Okay, are they looking at that as oh, she's the girl you want? Or she's getting him fucked up?
No, I think they saw it as oh, she's very catering.
Okay. All right.
Lulu had followed a wave of Mexican expats to the Woodlands, entering the United States on a visitor visa. She was not legally allowed to work in the States, but she paid her bills by cleaning houses and working as a masseuse until she and Sosa married in 2009. A year and a half later, they opened Woodlands Boxing and Fitness, so she's a part of this.
Okay. And now she's legally here because she's married, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
The gym pulled in about 200 clients. Sources say that they're talking $18,000 to $200,000 a month alone. Ramon always worked full-time jobs at a shipping company in addition to training boxers. So, like, he was hustling.
He sure was. And I'm sure, like, training, he loved it. So, like, that didn't feel like a job.
Right. Lulu said that they bought brand spanking new houses.
Brand spanking new
motorcycles, cars, nice clothes.
All of it.
Lulu liked to go into stores and buy everything.
Do you think she went to Lululemon?
Yeah, Lulu for Lulu. Mundo visit.
Wait, do you remember a couple years ago? We were driving. I don't know if I was with you. I think I was with somebody we're not going to talk about. I think you might have been there. But we were driving and there was so much fucking traffic. I was like, what is going on? So I looked online and the street that we were on, it was, I think we were on Chestnut. One of the bricks from the old chimney had fallen through the roof and through a Lululemon and like hit somebody.
I don't think it was me. I remember the one time that one building burned down.
What?
The end.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Wait, hold 1 second. Yeah, okay, here it is. And we just so happened to be like outside of it right after it happened because everybody was like,
oh my God,
scurrying around. Yeah. In Center City, Philadelphia, 3 injured when bricks fall on Lululemon store collapsing roof. Can you imagine just shopping for your fucking
and
basic
getting hit by
bitch
a brick?
sweatpants and just everything falls apart? I mean,
that's a story of my life.
Nobody died. They did get injured though. And I'm trying to find a date on this and I can't find a date. When was that? Well, they settled out of it in 2018. Oh, $6 million settlement for the person who was injured by the bricks.
Oh, they got money, honey.
Well, they could have fucking died.
They could buy Lululemon now.
Okay, but here's the thing. Who did they sue?
Probably Lululemon for not like doing.
I don't think it was Lululemon's bricks that fell. I think it was the bricks from the building next door. All right.
Oh, that's good for them.
In case you guys give a fuck, I will link the details in the show notes. I'm just kidding. I'm not going to do that. That's too much work. Google it yourself. Google.com, but first ask dad or mom.
Mundo remembers the first time he saw Lulu. She walked into the gym just calling the shots, he says. She put in a lot of work. She basically took care of the business. The Sosas embraced Mundo, making him a part of the family. Mundo says he wasn't even looking for a father, but Ramon acted like that, and Lulu acted like a good friend.
Uh-oh, I don't like where this is going.
So Ramon sponsored Lulu, her mother, and her 2 teenage children to help them get U.S. citizenship. Only then did cracks appear in their marriage, including an altercation during a vacation to Puerto Rico.
Oh, God.
Lulu knew what buttons to push to agitate Ramon, and they would get into little back and forth arguments. Lulu would threaten to call Ramon's mom. Sources say that he would tell her the problem is between you and me, not my mother. I'm a grown man. Lulu called hotel security and claimed he was abusing her. After listening to both sides, the head of security told them to sleep in separate bedrooms. In March 2015, Lulu filed for divorce. Sources say that she wanted everything. She just wanted Ramon to leave, and she wanted to keep everything.
Okay, so she's just like, you need to go, but I'm going to keep all these riches.
So, in the time, Ramon was like, no, fuck that. If you want a divorce, we're going to split everything like 50-50.
Right, as it should be, especially if he's putting in a lot of work.
But things got rough when she was like, no, I want it all.
Oh, God.
Lulu contacted sponsors of his nonprofit and accused him of embezzling money, causing them to drop young profits and forcing the group to close.
Was he, though?
No.
Okay.
Lulu also told friends and clients that Ramon had abused her. His relatives, including his mother and adult daughter, say they never witnessed him hitting any family member, including Lulu.
Okay, that doesn't mean that he didn't do it.
That's true, but
I understand.
This man wasn't like that.
Okay. I know, but I'm just being objective.
And he wouldn't embezzle money because he loved what he did.
I'm sure, but a lot of people love what they do and embezzle money.
That's true.
I'm not coming for him. I'm just literally saying that, dude, people are doing some sketchy shit all the time. Oh my goodness. Parkour Cat. He should have a TV show or a podcast where you just hear him jump on shit.
Charlie, knock it off.
The seas have settled.
All right. Investors would later say they found no evidence of him trying to embezzle anything for young prospects nor any evidence that led them to believe any of the abuse allegations against Ramon were true.
Okay, do you know what the name of his little dojo was?
Yeah, it was Young Prospects.
Okay, I was going to ask if that's what it was. Okay.
Lulu also complained about Ramon to Mundo, who tried to stay out of the situation.
Ooh.
Mundo says tried is a good word, more like dragged into it.
Hi, I can relate. Anybody? Anybody else relate to that? Just,
right.
Minding my own damn business, and then somebody sees
this is
me
personal for you.
and just says, oh,
Let me unload.
let me just reel you on into this. Do you want to be a part of it? No? Okay, well, I'm not giving you a choice.
Literally. 3 months after Lulu filed for divorce, Mundo walked into the gym on a hot night. Lulu was in her office with her teenage daughter. They were having a talk regarding some kid that had been at the gym, about his uncle being some kind of killer down in Mexico, Mundo says. They were saying he cuts up bodies.
Oh, no. Why can't he have a better hobby, like cutting up food?
Right? So Mundo walked into the office when he heard Lulu mention that she wonders if he can help with our situation. That's in quotes.
Oh, God.
Mundo was pretty sure the situation was Ramon and encouraged Lulu to confide in him. Lulu started talking the next morning. I wish he will leave. I wish the cops would pick him up. I just wish somebody will make him disappear. Mundo asked, what do you mean disappear? And he made a pistol sign with his fingers. Lulu replied, yeah.
No.
So at this point, Mundo feels numb. He says, I know what she wants. He walked to a punching bag and started his workout, but instead of hitting the bag hard like he normally would, he barely tapped it, too distracted by the thoughts swirling in his mind.
Bet.
He punched one last time and returned to Lulu. I might know somebody, he said.
Mundo, no! Why is he turning his back?
So now we are introduced to Paco. Paco was so high in a gang that his face was painted on a mural at least 2 stories high. Paco is like the badass, Mundo says. Paco and John Boy, those were the men he'd contact. At least that's the story he told Lulu. So Mundo makes a call, but not to Paco. Instead, it's to Ramon saying, this lady wants to kill you.
Oh, double cross.
Ramon is quoting saying, shut the fuck up, stop playing, don't play like that. And Mundo is literally saying, like,
no, listen, she talked to me.
Yeah, like, I've heard it. Number one source.
Yeah. Straight out her cornhole.
Ramon was shocked, he was angry, and he didn't know what to do. So Mundo had a plan. He told Ramon that Ramon's going to play the hitman, and he's going to buy a burner phone that they can't track. He explained that the phone would be used as if it were Paco's, and they went over the details.
Ramon himself was going to play his own hitman?
Yeah.
That's supposed to kill him?
Yes.
Oh, shit.
So, things get a little sticky here, because look where it ended up.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
So basically they're playing that now Ramon is Paco, and Mundo is in on this whole thing. Okay,
and Lulu has no idea that this shit's happening. She
Yeah.
thinks it's a hitman.
Right. So then they're texting Lulu, pretending to be Paco, and they want $1,000 cash advance.
But it's her husband.
Yes.
Texting. Oh no. This is like Catfish with murder and money.
So they're going back and forth, texting. He says, Paco, I'm here with the Patrona. Y'all guys take a truck and 1G after the job is done. So in exchange, they want Ramon's pickup truck and $1,000.
Can you imagine being Ramon?
That's all you're worth.
Okay, but can you imagine
$1,000 in a pickup?
But imagine being Ramon texting this woman who you are sleeping in bed with.
Ramon is texting Mundo.
Okay, I know.
But yes.
But like
Yeah.
Ramon is literally
Basically,
watching what she's believing is a hitman. Like
literally.
What? Oh my god.
So Mundo's choice of the name Paco wasn't random. He was a character in the 1993 crime drama Blood In, Blood Out, where 3 Chicanos navigated gang life in Los Angeles. Paco, played by Benjamin Bratt, was admired and feared that another character paints in his portrait on a concrete wall alongside of the Los Angeles River. So yes, that's where Paco is coming from. So
the portrait's not even a real person.
Yes.
Oh my god, you got me.
At the end of the movie, Paco is an undercover cop.
Oh.
So this is where he got his whole scheme.
Oh shit, you got me reeled in.
So Mondo starts recording his conversations with Lulu, hoping to gather evidence that she's trying to kill her husband.
Oh my god. God bless.
In one recording,
have they contacted the police at all?
I think they're trying to collect evidence and then go to the police.
Oh, they're smart.
Right.
And rich.
So in one, she's quoted basically spending Ramon's money before it's even done, talking about that she wanted watches.
Oh my god, bitch. I want watches. Kill my husband. You're spending the money you don't even have.
Right.
Listen.
So that's not a good idea. Just before July 4th, Lulu handed Mondo $100 for fictional hitman to buy a stolen gun. With the cash in hand, Ramon and Mondo agreed that Ramon should go to the police. So this is when they decided to go to the police.
Okay, because they had the evidence.
Right. Ramon wanted Mondo to go too, but he had sworn to never talk to the police again as a gang member, so he couldn't go.
Oh my god, I thought you said a gay member.
A gang. I just can't speak.
Not gay. I mean, he could be gay, but
right.
That's not here nor there because equality.
So he goes to the police and they're questioning him, like, has your wife specifically used the word dead? And Mondo's like, yeah, like, hello, I'm going to die. So in the video, Mondo spends more than a half an hour telling detectives everything Lulu told him. He hands over the $100 and the recordings he's made and allows the detectives to download the text messages that she sent to the burner phone he has.
Gotcha. I had a burner phone in high school because my mom would track my text messages.
I love that for you.
And she was like, if you're in class, why are you texting? So I literally, Mom, if you're listening, so sorry about it. I went to Walmart, bought myself a track phone, and I would text with that in class.
Wow.
And
Bob's
then a teacher took it away from me, and I was like, it's fine. I got another one, bitch.
At the end of the video, Mondo decides to reveal his past. He says, I used to be a gang member. I've got a criminal past, so I'm pretty sure that's what attracted her to me. So Lieutenant Mike Atkins describes sitting across the table from Mondo as kind of surreal. He remembers thinking, is this legit? Because there's a divorce that is pending. So, he's thinking like, oh, this is just a ploy. He checked out Lulu's complaints about Ramon and found no evidence to support them. When he sorted through Mondo's criminal charge, his background coincided with the story of his life. Yes, he did get into a bit of trouble when he was a youngster, but there was no recent activity. That's what the...
No, I'm listening. I'm just staring at the cat's tail. This shit is like a movie.
Okay.
Paco.
That background, maybe more than anything, convinced Atkins to believe Mondo. Knowing the code where he came from, people who snitch are not looked at favorably. So his coming into the office under his own free will showed a lot of character.
Okay, that's true.
So he determined that Ramon's life was seriously in danger. He asked Mondo to keep recording Lulu. Mondo hated the idea but agreed. I can't say no, he says. Somebody's life is in the balance.
He knew what he had to do.
Yeah, right. So Mondo recorded at least 12 conversations, all in Spanish, over the course of 3 weeks, according to the records obtained from the correctional office. In one, Lulu tells Mondo that Ramon might sign divorce papers on July 22nd. She says, Mondo, I'm desperate. I can't stand this anymore. I have a giant headache. I hate having to lose everything. I'm sick of all this paperwork.
Wait, who said that?
Lulu.
Oh gosh, she's like, I'm sick of this paperwork.
Like this is what you're asking for because you said you wanted everything.
I have a headache.
With having everything comes with fucking patience.
But Mondo, I have a headache.
She complains that she won't get any alimony, that Ramon is no longer paying the mortgage, and that she's running out of cash. That fucker hasn't given me a single penny since February. She fumes. Nothing.
Okay, well maybe if you didn't buy the fucking watch, Miss Lemon.
Right. So she adds that they better kill him before the 22nd, that they'll have insurance for life, a pension for life, her life will be all figured out. She says, Mondo, do you know what I'm saying? He has worked hard all of his life for his retirement. Well, now it's time for me to work hard on my retirement. This is my retirement. His life is my retirement.
Girl.
This is what she's saying.
His life is my 401k. Yes. Oh my God.
So Mondo says, so from here until the court date, do you want to have him killed? She says yes. On the recording, Mondo tells Lulu several times that she can abandon her plan. And he says, if you change your mind, you change your mind. Nothing happens. No one's forcing you to do it. She says, it's a decision I already made. If I say do it, I want it done. So, that was a great story, right?
Right.
Well, it was actually a stage death by Ramon Sosa in Mundo. So, Ramon Sosa actually isn't dead. He framed his wife and got all of his evidence that she was trying to kill him, and now she is jailed, and Ramon Sosa is free. He gets to live his life.
So, hold on, wait. But the pictures, how did they do it? Like, what happened?
So, the cops staged it for him. They did a fake gunshot. They dug the grave. And in
And had a little photo shoot?
yeah, I cut this part out, but in the first section, it says the police quoting like, "Okay, Ramon, you could get up now."
Oh my God, after they take the pictures?
Yeah.
Oh shit. So he was
fake.
never
And like the pictures are on the internet of him literally laying in his grave with a gunshot in his head.
So they showed those pictures to Lulu?
Yeah.
And she was like, yes, he's dead.
Exactly.
And then
they were like,
gotcha.
No, right. Gotcha.
So how long is she in jail? Probably forever, right?
Right. Yeah, I didn't look that far into it because I was like, kind of fuck this bitch.
Right, but I want to know.
Okay, I'll look it up.
Okay.
She was sentenced to 20 years after accepting a plea deal.
What year was that? That was probably like 2016-ish?
2016, yep.
Wow. Well, don't kill your husband.
Right? Or try to for money.
She probably
That's
feels so
embezzlement.
stupid.
Right? Imagine that in the court. Imagine thinking that he's dead and being like,
Here
April
he
Fools.
is. Oh, gotcha. Oh, I did that two-parter that was similar to that. I don't remember what episode, but it was called
Yeah, I remember.
Lit That John Afloat,
Wow,
part 1
look
and
at
2.
that. John.
Wow, okay, that really was like a movie. Like they have to be making a movie about
I feel like
that.
my stories have been so good lately.
Okay, let's not pipe ourselves
I'm
up.
gonna pipe it up.
Okay. So it is my turn, and before I begin, this story might not be for everybody. Here's a disclaimer.
This program deals with devil worship and satanic beliefs. It contains explicit scenes and descriptions of violent crimes and rituals. Because of the program's theme and controversial subject matter, parental discretion should be exercised.
Okay. So, with that out of the way, in 1987, author Joanna Michelson received a letter from a woman named Lauren Stradford. Lauren was a middle-aged woman working as a counselor in California and had recently read Joanna's book called The Beautiful Side of Evil. This book, which was published in 1982, is Joanna's autobiography. So, from childhood to her young adult life, she had involvement with the occult. She later studied psychics and mind control, and eventually she began rejecting these techniques
A busy bee.
and fields of study as the work of Satan. She became a born-again Christian, and through her book, she basically just warns readers of the dangers of everything from Ouija boards to yoga, because Joanna Michelson believes them to be instruments of the devil. So, also, not sponsored, but that title again is The Beautiful Side of Evil by Joanna Michelson. A new copy goes for as much as $161.94 on Amazon. Not sponsored, but what's good, Joanna Michelson? Okay, so back to my story. So this California counselor, Lauren Stradford, writes to her saying that Joanna's book struck a chord with her as it recovered repressed memories and trauma from Lauren's own childhood, as she was in a satanic cult. Lauren said that the trauma associated with these memories had so undone her that she could no longer take care of herself. At the time she had written to Joanna, so in the late 80s, Lauren actually ran a sex abuse support group. And she confided in Joanna, telling her that even the group wasn't providing her with the healing that she needed. So Joanna and her husband Randolph were not the type of people to turn away any person in need, so they invited Lauren to come stay with them. So during the first weeks of her stay, Lauren would wake up screaming from nightmares. She told Joanna she could hear mumbling and shrieks in the night. She wasn't sure if it was in her dreams or if she was awake, but Lauren believed that since she had started opening up about her repressed childhood traumas to a Christian couple, that she was under attack by the devil. So Joanna and Randolph introduced Lauren to reporter Ken Wooden. So Ken had become somewhat of an expert not only on the exploitation of children, but also the hidden world of devil worship. In 1985, Ken provided research for 2020's report on Satanism, the devil worshippers. And that same year, he was consulted by investigators of a ritual abuse case in El Paso in the Michelle Noble and Gail Stickler Dove case. If you want to look into that, you can look into that. But it takes a while, as she had built emotional barriers and obviously suppressed a lot of shit. But after 3 weeks of talking to these people every day, Lauren finally opened up to Ken and Joanna. Okay, so this is what she told them about her life. So as a newborn, Lauren Stradford was adopted either privately or on the black market in the 1940s. She's not sure which.
Oh my God, the black market?
Mm-hmm.
That's so sad.
In her first few years, life was normal for Lauren. She depended on her adoptive parents, who were upper-class professionals. She was well cared for and felt safe.
So her upper-class parents got her from the black market?
She's not sure, and that as her childhood goes on, you'll start to be like, oh shit, what? Okay, so they attended church regularly, which provided Lauren with a foundation of her faith. And then when she was about 4 or 5 years old, her adoptive mother began paying for household services by allowing men to spend alone time with Lauren.
That shit breaks my heart.
After this, her life took a turn for the worst. Her adoptive mother became physically and verbally abusive towards her daughter and her husband, so violent that Lauren's adoptive father ended up in the hospital a few times.
Yikes.
Before he left the family when Lauren was 5 years old.
Why don't you take me with you?
Right. So after her father left, Lauren's life consisted mostly of abuse and chores. She had no siblings, no toys, no friends, and no free time. Her mother began telling her awful things about her birth parents and her heritage. She even forced Lauren to stand in front of a mirror and repeat that she was a bastard child, a quote, no good, and a quote, bad blood. This little girl's 5 years old.
Right? I don't even know what that means.
So her mother then attempted to separate Lauren from God by telling her that Jesus didn't want a dirty, filthy little kid. She would launch into unprovoked rages, screaming hysterically as she threw things around the house. The abuse escalated when Lauren was 10. After Lauren threatened to run away, her mother handed her over to 2 men who photographed her naked with farm animals. Several months later, Lauren recalled finding an underground printed magazine in her mother's own bedroom that contained these photographs of herself. Y'all, trigger warning, it gets fucked up from here. So the same 2 men continued photographing and filming Lauren and other children. Lauren was afraid to report her mother to authorities, fearing she would be possibly murdered before they could intervene, as she was threatened multiple times. So then, as a teenager, Lauren confided partially in 2 pastors, a school counselor, and a police officer, but all of them advised her to, quote, tolerate the abuse until she was old enough to leave.
How is that a solution for me? I'm traumatized. This shit is gonna fuck me up for life.
Okay, so hold on, because it gets awful. So at age 15, she did actually run away, and she was eventually placed in custody of her father in California. So she actually ended up finding her dad 10 years after he left. When her mother found out, she was furious. She hunted them down and bombarded Lauren's father with phone calls. Okay. Now, Lauren didn't remember how or when the change happened, but soon her father started taking the side of her mother.
Oh,
so
a master manipulator.
From then on, Lauren was regularly taken from her father's home to an office in an upscale district where she was injectified with stupefying drugs and placed in front of a camera. Sometimes a boss-type man she only remembered as Tony would give her pills, which she soon became addicted to. So years passed, and eventually, by 18, Lauren continued to appear in porn, which she described then as hardcore. So between her drug addiction, her low self-esteem, and blackmail she had received, Lauren continued. At one point, Lauren had become some sort of a guardian to a 15-year-old sex worker. Okay. Until one day, The poor girl died of a drug overdose in Lauren's arms. But even after this, Lauren didn't realize that there was an even more sinister power behind it all. So this, I mean, she's like, this is kind of how she grew up. Like, she's fucked up.
Right.
Okay. So one day when Lauren was 19, a few of the photographers shoved her into a van, blindfolded her, and drove her out of the city to a sex club where she met a man.
No.
An awful, evil man with slicked black hair and slabs of gold jewelry named Victor. So Victor was in charge of the porn operation, and Lauren came to suspect that he ran a national child porn empire that had been keeping close tabs on her since childhood. So now she's kind of meeting the guy who's behind all this stuff since she was a kid. Again, at this point, she's 19. This is so sick. He complimented Lauren's performances and bragged about providing, quote, first-class service for high society here at my estate, end quote. He then let her know that at the House of Victor, that's where they're at, he calls it the House of Victor, powerful satanic forces were at play. So then she finds out Victor was a high priest and offered Lauren the opportunity to become his woman if she serviced his clients adequately. Lauren hated the abusive industry that she had come to know too well and was repulsed by the high priest. But she was scared that if she refused, she would be hunted down and killed, as Victor began painting the picture of what could really happen to her if she tried to leave.
Of course he did.
And then she found out that it wasn't actually a sex club, but it was a luxurious ranch that was run by a bunch of satanic cult members.
Yikes.
So some popular clients included doctors, lawyers, CEOs, judges, politicians, entertainers, and more. She said you wouldn't know a lot about these men, but she said after snorting cocaine together, these guys talked a lot.
Ooh.
So months went on, and Victor told Lauren he wanted to show her something. He guided her to a door, which she had been forbidden to use prior.
No.
You know this isn't going anywhere good. So he opened it. They walked downstairs, and Victor introduced his ritual chamber.
Yikes.
So an altar stood in the back of the room consecrated to the devil, and Lauren was beyond horrified. So by this point, she had already become his woman and was forced to attend ceremonies where black-robed strangers summoned spirits, drank urine and blood-laced wine, and cursed their enemies. After witnessing and participating in rituals, Lauren truly believed that demonic and satanic entities could physically harm people if the cultists demanded it. And then, believe it or not, this shit gets darker. Victor told Lauren, essentially, that she was going to have his child.
Oh no.
She refused, not knowing what the fuck they would do to an infant, considering what happened in her childhood and that Victor was behind it. So, like the noble man he was, Victor had this guy who is only referred to as John lock Lauren in a small room in the basement. She was deprived of food and sleep.
Sleep.
They would like make loud noises to keep her awake.
Wow.
So in one instance, while she was locked in the basement, John set loose 12 snakes in her small room. But Lauren still refused to have Victor's child. So John said, fine, for every week you hold out, this group of friends we got here, we're going to go find a baby. And that baby is going to be sacrificed in your name. So Lauren wasn't sure if they were bluffing or not.
Right.
She knew that they were powerful, but she really didn't think that that sort of thing would happen. But she wasn't sure because of her fucked up childhood and all these fucked up people who are behind child abuse. So she held out for another week. And after 7 days with no food and only small quantities of water, John caged her in a large barrel that contained bloodied flesh, which John informed her
What's from the babies?
were human remains. A few weeks later, it was Halloween night, and around midnight, Victor guided Lauren, along with the rest of the cult members, behind an abandoned church. So they had a seance, and the high priest ordered Lauren to stand in front of the rest. So she did. Then one of Victor's men handed her an object bundled in a blanket. It was heavy. It was warm. It was a baby. So I don't want to go into details, but Victor ordered her to take an athame, which is like a knife, and sacrifice in the name of Satan, and she refused. Victor didn't touch her, but he stared into her eyes in the most horrifying way, she says, as if, you know what I'll do if you don't do it.
Right.
So, basically, she imagined she was attacking all the people that ever abused her, and I'll leave it at that.
Oh no.
Okay, I don't want to skip it, but I'm just gonna go on a little bit. So Lauren was horrified, and that night kept playing in her mind. A lot of the details surrounding that day were fuzzy and fragmented. I'm sure her brain was in shock and survival mode. Fucked up, but that same week, her period was late.
Oh my god.
So she was stuck at this ranch, and Lauren endured the struggles and hardships of pregnancy. Other women tended to her, and 9 months later, without medical professionals, Lauren gave birth to a boy whom she named Joey. As soon as the umbilical cord was cut, Joey was taken away from her, and she never saw her son again. So, I know this is really fucked up. At some point in the early 1960s, when Lauren was strong enough to walk on her own, she managed to escape the ranch and made it to another city. So eventually, Lauren was able to live what I'm sure looked like on the surface as a normal life. She did her best. She took a series of professional jobs, and which one involved counseling troubled people. But she never settled on one place. After living in one place for a while, she began receiving phone calls.
Oh no.
It was Victor, and he had found her.
No.
So fearing for her life, she moved continuously to evade all of these calls. And a few years later, Lauren suffered a chronic, life-threatening, rare blood clotting disorder, which doctors said was a result of abuse, and her illness left her unable to work. So stress and illness landed her in hospitals over 40 times in an 8-year period.
Oh my god.
For pain management, she began guided imagery sessions with a social worker, and in therapy, Lauren began recovering memories of not having one but 3 children named Joey, Carly, and Lindy during her time with Victor. Now, they didn't have like official names, but those are just the names that she gave them because to her, they were her children. Doctors say her progress was slow and difficult. So it was at around this point when, around 1985, that Lauren saw Joanna Michelson on TV and read the book. Joanna's TV appearances gave Lauren the courage to begin speaking out against child abuse and porn, and she formed a support group for victims of sexual abuse. Lauren's group caught the attention of a radio host and author named Joyce Landorf Heatherly, who invited Lauren to be an anonymous guest on her show several times. She now had the attention, admiration, and unconditional support of numerous women and men. People had been turning to her for guidance, and finally, 18 months after first seeing her on TV, Lauren had the strength to contact Joanna Michelson. So all that stuff I just said was what Lauren was opening up to Lauren and Ken. Joanna and okay. So after hearing all of this shit, Ken Wooden, again, who she's selling this to, encouraged Lauren to write everything out, write a memoir, suggesting that the public was the best way to scare off anybody who could potentially do this for her. Also, it would be like cathartic that she can let it out for anybody else out there who could be going through this fucked up shit. Important. Seriously, and just letting people know that, like, I mean, these were the days before blogging and shit.
But just putting it out there, like,
this is my story. And also, not only that, but like, she's probably not the only one, unfortunately.
Exactly, right. And it's kind of empowering.
Yeah.
It brings people together who are in, like, very, very
dark times. Yeah.
Situations.
So Lauren was weary of the idea, but she had the support behind her. She had Ken, she had Joanna, she had Randolph. She also had Joanna's sisters and brother-in-laws who she ended up meeting while staying with them, and they were all just like, yeah, let's like, publish a book about this. So Joanna Michelson and Ken Wooden joined Lauren on Hal's Christian TV show to share her full story for the first time. Then in 1988, Lauren Stratford's first novel, Satan's Underground, was published by Harvest House, which is a major Christian publisher. Her now close friend, Joanna Michelson, had written an introduction, and the book was endorsed by many well-known people. The book was a bestseller, and even the Child Institute International recommended it as a resource on child abuse. So Larry Jones, who was like a self-proclaimed cult cop, promoted the book via his Cult Crime Impact Network, or CCIN, the book was even in one of the File 18 newsletters, which was the name of their newsletter. Lauren even gave a presentation at CCIN's crime seminar on October 25th, 1988, where Lauren gave advice to parents of ritually abused children. She also appeared on Geraldo Rivera's 1988 special, Devil Worship, Exposing Satan's Underground, which is available on YouTube. I'm going to link it below. She was also on Straight Talk in the 700 Club. So I'm going to play a little clip from the Geraldo Rivera special.
I will probably have nightmares tonight about it, as I have about my Joey that I have been talking about. I wake up screaming for him now in the middle of the night. I dream that he's lost and I'm trying to find him.
So that was the voice of Lauren as she was on the show. Her story got so big that Lauren appeared on the Oprah Winfrey Show with Joanna on February 17th, 1989. That's the day before my birthday, but I wasn't born yet because I'm a young hun. So Oprah introduced her saying, quote, "My next guest was used also in worshiping the devil, participated in human sacrifice rituals and cannibalism." So shortly after Lauren was on Oprah, Christian authors Bob and Gretchen Passantino teamed up with this guy named John Trott, who is one of Cornerstone Magazine's writers, and they began investigating Lauren Stradford's accounts in her nonfiction Satan's Underground. So even though they were Christians, not that this has much to do with it, but I'm just saying that they were Christian authors, but even though they were Christians, Bob and Gretchen were extremely skeptical of satanic ritual abuse stories and realized that Christian authors played a major role in creating sensationalized hysteria surrounding this stuff. So nearly everything in the 1988 book Satan's Underground, written by Lauren, turned out to be at odds with facts. And Lauren Stratford's perfect autobiography as a satanic cult survivor began to fall apart. And this is the part of the episode when we're going to say, April Fools, bitches.
We got you. Hey.
It is April Fools.
It is April
and,
Fools.
And let me just tell you what happened when they started diving into this woman's past. So like I said, these three, they dove deep. First of all, Lauren Stratford was really Laurel Wilson, not to be confused with Yanni Wilson.
Right, Laurel, Yanni.
Just a little throwback spring break 2018 joke. Okay. So Laura Wilson was born in 1941 in Washington State. So leaning on her timeline in her book, she ran away from her adoptive mother in 1956. She met Victor in 1959 and left Victor's cult in 1960. Okay. So John Trott and the Passatinos, I'm going to call these guys the
Trotts.
No, that's just the one guy. I'm going to call them the Satanic Sus Squad. Okay. So when I refer to that, it's just the three of these people. Okay. So the Sus Squad, they learned that Laurel was adopted, but not in the way she portrayed it in her book. The squad found the identity of Laurel's adoptive father. His name was Frank Wilson. He was a physician in the 1940s through the 1960s. Frank had left the family when Laurel was 9 years old, not 4 when she said, and he died in 1965. Contrary to the story she clung to, Laurel lived with both of her adoptive parents, her mother and her father, at various times at the age of 15. More surprisingly was the fact that Laurel was not an only child. She had an older sister named Willow. Though Lauren didn't explicitly say she had no children, she strongly implied that she was totally alone with her deranged mother and father who left the family. But this was not the case in real life. Laurel and her sister Willow often visited their maternal grandfather, Anton Grabowski, in Tacoma. Their grandfather's name was Anton Grabowski. I'm going to come back to that man in a few pages, okay? So now the Sus Squad had tons of questions. So what about Lauren's adoptive mother? Was she really demented, violent, a raging bitch who allowed homeless drunks to come in and touch her 4-year-old daughter? Did she really invite, a child porn film crew to come set up shop in her basement? Did they beat Laurel and abuse Frank so viciously that they ended up in hospitals on several occasions? So, with paperwork backing up their findings, the squad had successfully hunted down Willow, which was her sister, for answers. So, this is where they're getting this information from Laurel's actual blood sister.
Oh,
okay?
great. So she's like, I'm going to tell you something.
So, Laurel's adoptive mother, Rose Wilson, was a school teacher. In 1941, Rose, Frank, and 5-year-old Willow lived in the town of Buckley, Washington, not far from Tacoma, and adopted Laurel shortly after she was born. Not on the black market. So according to Willow, the Wilsons were devout members of the church. They raised their daughters in a very sheltered, strict Christian environment. Both had volatile tempers and argued frequently, but Willow said their anger was never directed at her or Laurel. Willow described her mother as being straight-laced, so kind of just like by the book, very strict, but not abusive. And in Willow's opinion, her mother would have never, ever, ever been involved with any sort of child pornography. So Willow and Laurel's upbringing was completely average for small town kids in the 1940s. They often made trips to the beach. They played in local parks. They rode their bikes around neighborhoods. Their parents even paid for Laurel's singing lessons. And then as a teen, Laurel was part of a singing trio. She belonged to several school clubs. Just remember that in Lauren's book, Satan's Underground, she claims that her childhood was depraved of toys, no outings, no extracurricular activities, no siblings either. Okay.
Look at that.
And now this proven timeline actually makes Laurel Wilson a good deal older than Lauren when she was supposedly a virtual hostage in Victor's satanic porn empire. So when Lauren was said to be in her teen years, Laurel was actually in her mid-20s and well out of college. Other parts of Lauren's story were at least partially true. Laurel did run away from home at the age of 16, not 15, but she was sent to live with Frank in his new home in San Bernardino, California. However, they didn't stay long. She returned voluntarily to her mother's home in Tacoma.
Ooh.
So when Laurel was 17, her sister Willow, who was 22, had a husband. And for the first time, Laurel lived with her sister and brother-in-law in Seattle. She left her parents and lived with her sister and brother-in-law. Okay. And this was when signs of severe emotional problems began to surface. She accused Willow's husband of sexually molesting her, which was the first of many sex abuse allegations that she would make. In 1959, shortly after enrolling in a school, Seattle Pacific College, which is now Seattle Pacific University, Laurel told classmates that she had been forced into prostitution by her mother and molested by staff members. And according to Willow, Laurel admitted to the dean of the school that she had fabricated all of those stories to, quote, impress her friend.
Impress?
By Satan's Underground timeline, Lauren was in California hopelessly addicted to pills and under the control of pornographer Tony and his sick minions. Laurel's condition seemed to improve when she returned to San Bernardino and enrolled at the University of Redlands as a music major. She became the choir director at a church, and on the surface, her life seemed to be on track, but she told her friends her father was molesting her and allegedly made numerous suicide attempts over the next 6 years. So in 1962, Laurel, who is now 21 years old, became close with an older Christian couple named Norman and Billy Gordon and moved in with them. Keep in mind, she moved in with her sister and her brother-in-law already.
No, her dad went back.
Right.
Like,
but I'm talking
bouncing
about,
around.
I'm talking about, yes, she bounced around a little bit, but she's moving in with like couples. This is kind of a pattern that
look at
comes.
that.
So, and then she accused, I'm not saying don't believe the people who are accusing. I'm just
but it's
saying
a pattern.
here's a pattern with this specific case that I'm talking about now. Okay, so she moves in with this older couple, Norman and Billy Gordon. So Lauren lived with Norman and Billy for almost a year and actually required more attention than her children. Reminder, Laurel is 21 years old. She told them that her mother had died when she was very young and her stepmother abused her physically and sexually. On one occasion, she showed up to the Gordon's house with a bruised forehead, claiming her stepmom had bashed her with a can of peaches. When further questioned, Laurel admitted it was a lie. While at the couple's home, Laurel experienced periods of hysterical blindness that she later admitted was fake.
I can't.
So the Gordons kicked her out after she lunged at Billy with a broken vase. So Laurel returned to live with her father and attended another church. She basically lied about lesbianism there, and that's always fun to lie about. Then, despite her emotional turmoil, Laurel earned a bachelor's degree in music from the University of Redlands. In 1964, she left home without telling anybody where she was going. And listen to this. She pretended to be a drug-addicted teen, and she entered a Los Angeles rehab program called Teen Challenge.
What?
Even though at the time she was 23 years old. Okay, so after her father's death in 1965, Laurel lived on her own and held a job as a music teacher at Hemet Junior High School in 1966.
Not need to be around children.
Right. In 1966, she went on 3 dates with the minister's son, and the couple married after 3 dates.
What?
But don't worry, the marriage was annulled 2 months later. In January 1968, if you listen, this story continues to get crazy, so just you wait. In January 1968, Laurel left Hemet Junior High. She later told people she worked as a counselor at the California Institute for Women from 1969 to 1971, but there is no record of her employment there.
She's lying, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm. So during this period, Laurel sang in a gospel trio, and in 1971, she lived for a time with the family of a group member in Bakersfield. She remained in Bakersfield for the rest of her life. And
sorry to interrupt.
Mm-hmm.
Is she still pretending to be a teenager?
No.
Okay.
This is in 1971,
right,
so this is like 6 or 7 years later.
Okay, cool.
So while living with these people, she told these people that she was abused as a child and everything else. Just gonna throw it out there that at this time, Laurel had never mentioned Satanism or satanic ritual abuse to anybody. Okay. It wasn't until the 1980s, after the publication of a book called Michelle Remembers, which was a book co-written by Canadian psychiatrist Lawrence Pasder and his satanic cult survivor psychiatric patient named Michelle Smith. So it wasn't until after that book was published that these ideas started sparking in her head. Fun fact, the book Michelle Remembers ended up being debunked as lies.
Oh.
Clearly, Laurel really didn't have an issue with passing off others' suffering as her own, whether others' suffering was true or not. So by now, Laurel's mental instability was obvious to everyone she knew, and it prevented her from working outside her home. She ended up giving private piano lessons and drew mental disability payments. Laurel deliberately estranged herself from her mother, Willow, in the late 1970s, telling them that she had a new family. So again, what triggered all this satanic cult shit? It all began in 1982 when Laurel happened to live in Bakersfield, California, a city that caused nationwide hysteria.
Oh.
I'm just going to shorten what actually started this whole satanic panic really quick. So there was a 38-year-old woman who learned that her husband's 7-year-old granddaughter may have been molested. They go to the police saying that it was the two parents, Debbie McCon and Alvin. The woman who went to the police, which was Debbie's stepmother, said that these people are not fit to be parents, blah, blah, blah. They questioned the kids, and the kids told the police that basically, yeah, they did this. Then it turned into a witch hunt, and for the next 3 years, kids were coming out of the woodwork, and they were telling police that all this stuff happened to be satanic and all this shit, but it was literally a witch hunt because the kids then retracted their statements, and 34 of 36 convictions of these cases were appealed, but the damage was done for these families. So literally all these parents who weren't actually doing this were being thrown in jail for like satanic shit. So it was literally satanic panic that wasn't really happening, but humans were actually being thrown in jail. Yeah. So before all this shit was known to be lies, Laurel had contacted one of the foster parents involved in the Bakersfield case. His name was Pat Thornton. No, it was a woman. Her name was Pat Thornton. And Laurel said she feared her life because she had inside information about perpetrators. and satanic cultists. Lauren called Pat at all hours with emotional cries demanding attention. She made up a story about being a sex slave to a Satanist named Jonathan, who belonged to a huge satanic pedophile ring that involved the Bakersfield abuse. So Laurel had been an unwilling cult member her entire life, as both her parents were members, and she told Pat that her youth was fucked up. She was in a farmhouse basement. She lost more than one child to human sacrifice. Clearly, this woman is sick.
Right.
The first Joey died when she was 15, and she was in a LA warehouse with other cult breeders where they were just having women pop out babies for human sacrifice for Satan and everything like that because satanic panic. But Pat Thornton was pretty skeptical and did not believe Laurel. However, she did arrange for Laurel to meet with private investigator Judy Hansen, and this woman actually ended up being huge in this Bakersfield case. Laurel appeared for the meeting in a wheelchair. She carted an oxygen tank that she didn't need. She told Hansen that she was terminally ill, which she wasn't. Judy and another man had video recorded. This is important. Judy and another man had video recorded Laurel's testimony she shared with several others who all agreed her story was not credible. All the details she offered were either unverifiable or had already been made public in reports, and her reports were literally verbatim what other people had claimed.
It's like, let me copy your homework and then change the font.
Yeah. So one of the district attorneys, Colleen Ryan, had reached the same conclusion, saying this lady's a crock of shit. So author Joanna Michelson was actually aware. This is important. Author Joanna Michelson was actually aware of Laurel's original testimony before Satan's Underground was published. Joanna had eventually watched the videotape, hearing Laurel's accounts from her own mouth. Joanna even admitted to the Sus Squad that she didn't know if Laurel's original claims were true or not, which is crazy because Laurel's videotape testimony was straight up just not, it totally contradicted the shit that happened in the book.
Right.
So she had seen that before the book was published.
So why did she let her? Okay.
Well, let's also not forget that according to Lauren's timeline, she was with Victor's satanic cult for one single year, 1959 to 1960, yet was somehow able to give birth to 3 children who were then sacrificed to Satan. 3 children within 1 year, just saying. So, Laura Wilson changed her name to Lauren Stradtford. And the physical distance and the estrangement from her family and the facts that she cut ties with certain people helped ensure that nobody would uncover her true background. So with all this information, the Sus Squad published a Cornerstone magazine article outing Lauren for her lies. So just going to say, at this point in the late 80s, Lauren Stradtford was huge. She was like a big name. People knew her. She published a book. She was backed up by a bunch of people. And then Cornerstone, I'm going to link, I used to find that information that I just told you, I used this article, but I'm going to link the whole article. They're so detailed with what actually happened in this woman's life.
We have the facts.
Right. So they published literally everything.
Now, this was years after this book got put out, yes.
Mm-hmm. This was after the Oprah Winfrey. She was on the Oprah Winfrey show.
Shit.
So, she was, that's what I'm saying, is she was big. And now they're just like, hold on a minute. Let's find out who this woman is. Yeah. Yeah. Wig snatched. So they had receipts in this article.
Right.
They even had photographs of Lauren from her childhood to adulthood with her family and her sister she never mentioned. They had her files of where, not they weren't releasing all of her personal information, but they were this shit isn't true.
Shit that you could see.
Yes, public records.
Mm-hmm.
She was with her choir. She was in churches. She had white privilege barbecues, all that fun shit, So when this shit came out, Harvest House, who was the big publisher, they yanked her from the publication. Naturally, it was reprinted by some other person with low standards. People stopped talking to Lauren. People stopped asking her to speak. Lauren, quote unquote, Lauren.
Right.
They stopped asking her to speak at seminars.
Is she surprised? Her story's fake news.
People felt betrayed. And in 1994, Laura Wilson, a.k.a. Lauren Stradtford, filed for bankruptcy. And again, in 1994, satanic panic had finally subsided in the United States because pretty much all of these Christian authors were making so much money off of these fake
Fake,
claims
right. That's, like, not
about
okay.
satanic shit, and innocent people like in Bakersfield were thrown in jail and being
and
accused
also like
of
saying
sex
like
trafficking.
really, really, really like crazy things, like, and you're lying about it.
Honestly, think about it. Like, what could be worse than the shit that you're claiming? You just got the worst of the worst, and it's awful because
And it's a lie.
that shit really happens, and it's a
Right.
lie.
Yeah.
Are you holding on to a stress ball?
I
If you're
am.
not,
Oh,
you
Lord.
should be, because then Lauren Stradford altered her name and background once again. After all of this happened,
Who is she now?
this time, what could be worse than that? This time, she became a Holocaust survivor named Laura Grabowski.
Ma'am, you're not even old enough.
In the summer of 1997, she attended a support group called the Child Holocaust Survivors Group of Los Angeles, wearing her name tag that read Laura Grabowski. She told the group that she was born in Poland and her parents died during the war, and she was forced into a concentration camp after Auschwitz was liberated in January of 1945. The 5-year-old Laura was then sent to an orphanage. She was adopted by a couple from Washington State, and Lauren ended up so close with all of her fellow, quote-unquote, fellow
Holocaust
survivors
survivors. I can't.
that she referred to them as her new families. Anybody triggered? Because I am.
I'm triggered.
But then there were so many gaps in Laura's story.
Like always.
She never told anybody her birth name or the names of her parents. She never explained how she came to be adopted by foreigners, and never spoke of any of her family members. But Laura did, however, remember Joseph Mengele. He was the monster who performed deadly human experiments in the camps. He's a real fucked up person.
Oh, so he's real.
Yes, he's a real person, and it's fucked up.
Well, she did her research.
Right? She just cracked open a history book, wikipedia.com. So she told the group that he had operated on her numerous times. She even mentioned the procedure that left her unable to bear children, but her stories were obviously problematic. His subjects were mostly children with disabilities or unusual traits, and pretty much none of them, unfortunately, lived. And most of the Polish children were usually died of disease. Get this. In 1997, Laura contacted Benjamin Wilkomirski, who was a child survivor of Auschwitz, whose widely acclaimed memoir, Fragments, had been published in 1995. She convinced him that they were friends as children, and they actually had belonged to the same camp, and they even ended up in the same orphanage.
Wait, she convinced him?
Mm-hmm.
How?
So the two talked back and forth for a while, and in April of 1998, Laura traveled to Los Angeles to meet Benjamin. So, fun fact, Laura convinced a different friend who was a real child survivor to send her money for her flight to LA. Anybody pissed? Okay.
I am.
All right.
She just keeps manipulating people.
Clearly, this woman is sick. So, the meeting between Laura and Benjamin drew international media attention. The BBC recorded a concert that was held at a Beverly Hills synagogue on April 19th, which is the Holocaust Remembrance Day. Benjamin played his clarinet, and Laura sang her original piece, Ode to the Little Ones. And somehow the Sus Squad, are you ready for this? They come back out of the woodwork. They saw Laura in the headlines, and they were like, yo, Laurel is at it again, this bitch.
Right, okay.
So they investigated again, and it was quickly confirmed that, yes, it was the same person. Now they're like, we need some serious proof of this shit.
Proof? You have proof the last years that she's lying.
I'm saying, but they're just like, this woman is clearly relentless. Like, we need to do
Get
like
her in a
something.
slammer once and for all.
So they found documents that were signed by Laura Grabowski, and they included Laurel's social security number and address. In one letter, Laura signed her name Laura Stradford Grabowski. So now all three of her fucking identities are in the same. Jesus.
She don't know who she is anymore.
Saying. So
she's losing track.
Clearly. And they also compared signatures of Laura and Laurel, finding them nearly identical. So the Sus Squad also learned that Laura had applied to the World Jewish Restitution Organization.
Stop.
Where Jewish Family Services made 24 payments to Laura Grabowski, totaling in thousands of dollars.
I need like a lesson or something. She somehow always has money rolling in.
So the Holocaust survivor community that had become Laura's family, they outed her again in Cornerstone. They were like, here she is again, y'all. So these people who were actual Holocaust survivors didn't know how to respond when they found out she was a fraud. And what did Laura's long lost friend from Auschwitz, Benjamin, had to say? Well, not much, because guess what? He was a fucking fraud too.
That's why they're friends.
In August of 1998, he was totally exposed in detail for being a fake. He was never in a concentration camp, and nothing in his award-winning autobiography was true. A 2002 DNA test even proved he was not who he was claiming to be.
I won't.
So now you can see how she wasn't who she said she was.
Three different types of people.
He wasn't who he said he was, and that's why she was like, Benjamin, you remember me from camp? And he was like, yeah.
Oh, shit, true.
And they were both fucking lying and making money off of the worst things that could have happened in humanity.
Yeah, right? I almost said America. I'm glad you stopped me.
Yeah. Sarah.
I know.
Oh, Lord. Okay, so Lauren Stratford never publicly responded to the exposure of her Holocaust fraud, nor did she recant any of her satanic testimony, though the two overlapping accounts, both of which were fake, wildly contradicted each other. However, none of the people who helped promote Lauren's story have ever expressed regret for failing to verify even the most basic details before presenting her terrifying tales to the public, and also making money off of it.
Look at that.
So
every time, every story.
Laurel Wilson, aka Lauren Stratford, aka Laura Grabowski, passed away in California in April 2002. Oh, wow. Before that, Lauren wrote 2 more books, and guess what, bitch? They're still on sale.
No one said she was a fraud.
Everyone said she was a fraud, but she kept that shit on Amazon.com. Oh, God. Okay, so here are some...
Respect.
That is the fucked up story of this very sick woman. So I went online. I was curious to see. So I looked up Satan's Underground book reviews. Okay, and here are some 5-star reviews from people recently. Okay, this woman was exposed in the 90s. This is people in like 2018, 2019. Well, not 2019. The most recent was 2018. Who left 5-star reviews on this Amazon book. So this one's coming from Andrew. What does Andrew have to say about this? He says, 5 stars. Book was in great condition and quick shipping. Will read and update a review as content after the holidays. I have high expectation as the author's other book, Beautiful Side of Evil, was incredible. A true sister in Christ. First off, that wasn't her book. That was Joanna Michelson's book. Thank you, Andrew. I hope you enjoyed that book. Okay, here's 5 stars.
Fraudy book.
5 stars from Cassandra. She said, just started reading. I can't put the book down. A must read for real. Here's a 5-star from Trisha Lou. Okay, you post this as a public review on a public forum, and now we read it on a public podcast. She says, I have read the article by Cornerstone Magazine. It's just a bunch of he said, she said, though they demand evidence from the author, knowing full well how Satanists cover their tracks. They provide none themselves. Just a reminder that they had all the receipts, they had photographs, they had a timeline, they had her sister,
everything,
her like DNA. So this is also in the review. I saw a reviewer here say the book talks about filming of videotaping in years before that was done outside of big movie studios. Wish she told me the page number of the chapter. All I see is talk about photography. Yeah, because in the book, she's not going to talk about her videotapes, which were lies that didn't match up with what she was trying to sell.
So she pinned them as photography.
Okay, so whether or not the story is true, how can one verify one way or another? I know the kinds of activities it describes have gone on down through the ages around the world. In addition, with all the current glorification of witchcraft, violence, and the rampant cases of child abuse plus pornography, selling more than Big Macs. It sounds totally...
a good metaphor, Trisha Lou.
Right? Not hotcakes, Big Macs. It sounds totally believable, tragically. Okay, first off, I will agree that like fucked up shit like this does happen, but I don't quite know why she's going against all the evidence that this was fake. Like, So Trisha also says whether this particular woman and these particular she keeps going
There's
on.
more.
She says, I personally believe her. We need to pray for such victimization to end and the healing of such people and this nation to begin. The very least we can do is pray for them. Okay, so
she had all that time to write that review, but didn't have time to research if the book was correct.
basically, and I will again agree with this point. This fucked up shit is really happening. Now, what you can do, Trisha, instead of paying $30 for Laurel's Book of Lies, maybe donate that $30 to a charity working to stop human trafficking.
Look at that.
Or she can, send that $30 to a dead woman who is fake.
Foundation.
So I'm just going to wrap this up and get some shit off my chest. I'm not here to say do not believe victims. That's not what I'm saying.
Right.
Because it's people like Laurel that make real victims of real abuse scared to step forward because so many other people will assume that they're lying. Human trafficking in both adults and children is very fucked up and very real. And sexual and physical abuse of both adults and children, unfortunately, is also real. So I'm not here to say do not believe victims. Just going to clear that up. I'm also not here to bash you on your religious belief. I am not a Satanist. I am not coming for Christianity. As long as you're a decent fucking human being and your beliefs don't negatively affect another human being, we're cool. Okay, so I'm not here to bash your religious beliefs. I'm just saying this certain instance was basically a bunch of Christian authors who were profiting off of these fucked up fables, basically claiming them as real
For money.
Yes, exactly. And again, she tackled it all in like the worst of the worst. She claimed child abuse, child porn, adult porn, sex trafficking, baby sacrifice to Satan. Laurel claimed fame and made money. And then when she was outed...
The tragedy of things that
actually happened to other people. And then when she was outed, she took on another world of lies in the worst imaginable way. So imagine this woman claiming she's a Holocaust survivor, sitting in a room of actual Holocaust survivors who have seen like the real evil in this world. And she's like, right? And in front of all these survivors, she says she's one of them. Like,
pay attention to me.
Obviously, she was sick in the head. She is not well. She's relentless. She's a fraud. Also, collected thousands of dollars from Jewish Family Services, went on television, and even profited off of not just that satanic shit, but also becoming a Holocaust survivor.
But she wasn't.
And then it's thanks to people like 5-star Trisha here. She's still making money beyond the grave. This woman's dead and people are still giving her money. So, Trisha, in the off chance your defective brain cells have guided you here to this podcast, I hope you learned something. So, do you have a fun fact?
I don't.
Okay, well, my fun fact is that Hans Steininger, the man who was said to have the longest beard in the world, died in 1567, after he tripped over his beard while running from a fire.
Oh, shit. Like, imagine that. You're running from a fire, like, yes, I'm saving my life. And then
He trips
you
over
trip
his
over your
longest
longest beard.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, and it probably caught on fire. Okay, I'm so done talking about this fucking woman.
All
I'm,
right.
like, stressed.
Yeah, I'm stressed.
I need
can't think
yoga.
words.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this fucked up episode. April Fool's, bitches.
Yeah, basically. April motherfucking Fools.
And honestly, you can go online and see her...
We have credentials.
Yeah, you can see the other books that she wrote, which contradict a lot of other shit. And she made lots of money off of it. Don't be a shitty person.
Yeah. And give people their fucking credit. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Bye.